In conclusion, modernism is cringe and materials cucked, while Chad Boneketecture is based and calcium pilled. If you spend too much of your life on Twitter, as many of us do, considering the outside is not but a distant memory at this point, then you know that leftist architecture discourse rears its ugly head every now and again, with staunch MLs defending brutalism as well as any Soviet bloc aesthetic to their dying breath on one side, and on the other, you typically find proponents of Art Deco or postmodernism mainly yelling about how ugly brutalism is, with neither side ever coming to a common ground. Minimalism or decadence, austerity or ostentation, the fight goes on endlessly with no solution in sight. Until now, that is. You see, I finally come to the ultimate answer for the leftist architecture question. The LAQ, if you will. We have been too focused on the rigid structures laid before us by the mistakes of our forefathers. No, what we must truly do is look beyond concrete and back to bones. The answer's been inside of us all along. Now come, and let me show you why the bone system is truly the flawless system. Brutalism admittedly does have its strengths that it shares with its vastly superior bone grandfather. Throwing away the decadence of excessively lavish buildings of the past, brutalists chose instead to focus on functionality, so much so that they made giant rigid structures of concrete with exposed I-beams and utilities. While this does share the benefit of being fiscally prudent that its bone predecessor has, this also led to a lot of brutalism's glaring flaws that leave its buildings to be hated by many that actually live by and inside of them. Many of the areas that brutalism was popular in, such as the UK and Eastern Bloc, happen to also have very moist climates, leading to staining on the exposed concrete and rust stains from exposed beams being an inevitability. This brings about a general feeling of urban decay very quickly, which, when combined with the austere shapes of the structures, can leave a very oppressing atmosphere, all for the sake of functional minimalism. Functionality took such a key point in designing buildings that rooms were effectively popped out at times based on the room's function. So, for example, a home would have the living room and bedrooms shown prominently jutting outside of the structure. This makes it far easier for would-be thief assassins to locate your room, break in discreetly, and steal your sweet, sweet bones for their new foyer. I don't think so, Bone Assassin. Bone Assassin. Like, he just gets up in there and gets your bones. Muscles and skin are fine, though. Just, oh no, bones beware. Oh, fuck, this is stupid. This was a huge oversight that I'm honestly shocked by. It's almost like Mihajlo Mitrovic didn't expect people to want to take your bones from you. The fool. Plus, brutalism was popularized by the British, and British people are gross, so that's gonna be a no-go for me, Chief. The other popular option that I'll often see lefties fall on is aesthetically pleasant but extremely decadent in terms of materials. I'm talking, of course, about brutalism's petty bourgeoisie cousin, Art Deco. Heavily influenced by Cubism, Art Deco keeps the rigid structure and shape found in brutalism, then pours a bucket of gold over it, and finishes it off with some jewel sprinkles. That is why the style is so aesthetically pleasant. It's directly linked to wealth and extravagance. Not just in architecture, but within the entire Art Deco movement, itself was a core rejection of austerity. While maintaining a simple structure, things need to be as grand as possible. Overall, this type of thinking doesn't really lend itself well to a more socialistic mindset, and while again very pretty, for that very reason, it disqualifies itself from the running for leftist architecture. Plus, there's too many pointing things that can fall onto your head.
Alright. Oh no!
So, yeah, that's going to be a pass for me. I guess we should talk about postmodernism a bit here, since it pops its strange cartoon head in, and every once in a while, people pretend to like it. Postmodernism in itself is inherently a repudiation and critique on previous rules laid out by previous modern architecture styles, which means it's actually just a bunch of campy, ironic takes on modern architecture. And don't get me wrong, there's some very cool buildings that are postmodern that have some interesting ideas that are practical. But the majority of what you get is loud, colorful buildings focusing very little on functionality, and mostly on visual appeal or, worse, ironic appeal. This is a law school specifically for judges in the UK. That's not a joke I'm making. I know that this looks like the inside of a McDonald's play place, but this is where serious people come to learn how they're going to oppress you later. Then there's this thing. Always watching, waiting, learning. No one knows what it wants, but I know. I know that it must feed. Run! So, with that said, we are not going with postmodernism. With all of these choices falling flat time and time again, things are starting to look hopeless. That is, until we look inside. Bones are the true answer to all these problems, and indeed the grand architectural style for leftist movements. The rigid oppressiveness of urban decay is no longer a problem, when bones are just simply easily replaced with cementing paste for repairs, if there are any needed against the sturdiness of our comrade bones. In fact, that's how this glorious answer of a style came to be. Cemeteries would often need to make room for new bodies due to the many wars that were going on in Europe at the time, and repairs were also needed with little to no money in the churches. So the quick-witted would preserve skulls and ossuaries, while using bones and cementing paste to repair their walls and floors. Solidarity does not have to end when you die now, as you can be the literal shoulders that your brothers stand on, the true exemplification of solidarity forever. With this ease and cheapness in repair, we can shed the ostentatious spending of Art Deco and much more easily start new housing projects, allowing us not only to solve homelessness, but also reliably maintain the buildings at a low cost. This is true minimalism, unlike the bourgeoisie pig in disguise, brutalism, with its fancy concrete and ability to have piping and electricity. Why would you ever possibly need any of those things when you have a bone chandelier to read Das Kapital to? And these are only the benefits of the bone zone that are directly in opposition to the negatives that I've brought before you with other styles. There are endless benefits and possibilities when it comes to bones. There's a certain resourcefulness that comes along with using bones as your main building material. After all, you want to make sure that you use every part of the capitalist after the revolution is won. With capitalistic greed taken out of the equation, and more resources not being used up in giant colorful judge classes on how to oppress the colorful, artists will be free to produce whatever they want, with plenty of amazing inspiration around to see in Bone City. I personally believe that this will lead to a new rise in heavy metal, with their album covers becoming just absolutely amazing. After all that you need to do now to take your hair metal picture in front of the Skull Throne is to just go in your living room and get your dad out of it. And if he doesn't want to get out of it, then you are already in a boss battle stage to have your fight in. In fact, every fight you have in real life will now be a boss battle. Then we get to see the final boss's fight in the Bone Octagon. The entertainment possibilities are endless when you accept Bones as your savior and move forward as a united Bone front. Oh, and do you remember those pesky bone assassins from earlier? Well, they are now completely overwhelmed with bones everywhere to assassinate, so they can't find their target bones, thus making them easy to capture and no longer a problem. Thank you, Bone God. In conclusion, modernism is cringe and materials cucked, while Chad Bonekitecture is based in calcium pilled, making it the only choice if you want to be the one true leftist. Hey, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helped us grow and I appreciate it. Tried doing something a bit different here, going for just like a full-on joke, so I hope it landed well. Let me know down below.